Good afternoon and welcome to the Break Room. My name is Kevin Wade. I am one of your hosts for this hour-ish of just wonderful shenanigans brought to you by Griffin Wink Advertising. The Break Room is a time where once a week we come on to a live stream that we stream to Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and we just talk about the things that interest us in the world of advertising. Being advertising professionals, we think we have a few things to say, and we just enjoy kind of talking about them with other members of our agency. It's a good way for us to learn new things and just express our thoughts on what's going on in our industry. Thank you all for coming along for the ride. If you do not catch us live, you can listen to us post-produced, usually the day after, on Anchor or wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything like that. Enough of me yammering. I will welcome in now an absolute charcuterie board of wonderful panelists. Really excited to have them on. We'll start with Brian Wink, Mr. President of Griffin Wink himself. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good. I feel like I might be the moldy cheese part of the charcuterie board.
Everyone has to pick what part of the charcuterie board they are as I introduce them. So Brian is blue cheese. He's the stinky cheese. You look cheese. At him, you're like, that might be good. I'm going to try it in a sec, but then it insists on every sense that you must pay attention to them now. And
it's really like a full body experience.
And ultimately quite delicious, but you're not quite sure going into it. Perhaps an acquired taste. Who knows?
You don't quite know how it's going to come out.
Great. I had nothing. I just completely farted on what I wanted to respond there.
And
scene.
And
we'll let him say what kind of charcuterie board he wants to be. Trace Thomas, everybody.
Hello. I feel like I'm some kind of fancy meat,
You're
take that with how you want it.
You are you're the Iberico ham, because we were in Spain together. You are the Spanish ham.
Yeah,
the Spanish ham.
The Spanish ham.
I like that. Put that on your business card, Trace.
And then last but certainly not least, you know him, you love him, Eric Mayhall.
I don't know. I was thinking about this, and it would definitely be some kind of nut, maybe like a cashew.
Yeah, cashews aren't nuts though.
Cashew, whatever.
Legume.
Legume. Yeah, what have you? Bean of some kind.
Sometimes they'll have a little honey with it, and I could see that being you, Eric. But you're a little.
There you go. A little sweet, exactly. And then at the same time, I don't know. You could have like an unexpected nut, like a macadamia in there. That's a money nut.
That's a money nut.
That's a money nut right there. That's the rich man's nut. But I digress.
I think I didn't get to share what I'd be. You know what? I'm a sauce guy. I love sauces. I think I would just be all those little spreads to where just, when you're about to take the bite, you thought this just needs to be a little bit better, a little bit sweeter. And just, I had that little spice
honey mustard
to the top of honey mustard. There you go. Yeah. But anyway, that unwittingly segues nicely into something I want to jump into right off the bat. I want to introduce or submit for consideration a brand new segment that I am going to call Kevin's Craving Corner, to be workshopped. But it is a segment where I rate the thing I ate for lunch and then talk about the marketing clout behind said lunch. So with that said, has anybody seen a commercial for or read what the latest offering from Buffalo Wild Wings?
Yeah, the fries.
No, not that's Wingstop.
Oh,
but so that's a separate marketing clout thing entirely. But for Buffalo Wild Wings, let's just say each of you has an opportunity.
Is it good marketing if you don't even know what company it was that was offering it?
No, I knew what company it was. No, Eric said thighs, but so that
thighs.
Probably wasn't good.
Yeah.
But if each one of you, real quick, if each one of you could pick a brand new Buffalo Wild Wings sauce that you think, man, this needs to be on a chicken wing, what would it be?
Hot honey, some kind of like a hot honey Nashville maybe or something.
And it seems like it makes sense, right? Because it goes along with kind of the Nashville chicken vibe, the chicken and waffles vibe. So yeah, makes sense, right?
Cholula sauce.
Brian's going with Cholula sauce, kind of a riff on the original. I like it.
Yep.
Yeah, Trace. I don't know if this is the official sauce, but I really like when they mix the lemon pepper with the like original hot or like medium hot or whatever.
Yeah, so something that mixes up the stuff that they've done before. So all of your ideas, I feel like, are all completely on brand and completely doable, and things that I would love to see on Buffalo Wild Wings menu. Buffalo Wild Wings, however, in lieu of anything doable that seems like it would make sense, decided that they were going to partner up with Doritos. Buffalo Wild Wings and Doritos. Yeah, chicken wings and Doritos. We're going for the late night snackers. We're going for the guy that doesn't want to get off the couch and just wants it all on his plate right there because he's watching football. And not just any Dorito.
No. You know who they're going after? The guy that has smoked too much pot and can't decide which direction he wants to go for a snack.
That's what I'm thinking, is just like, because I've seen Cheeto dusted mozzarella sticks recently.
Okay.
And now I'm seeing Dorito crusted chicken wings. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Okay, wait a second. So this is a great transition, Kevin, into not a transition. Okay, so you guys know how I like to kind of put brands together and come up with ideas and all that stuff. When Colorado first announced that they were going to do marijuana, that they were going to legalize it, I came up with the most brilliant idea, and I don't know why I can't find it anywhere. Well, I mean, I don't smoke pot, so
you got to start with.
I got to start that, but why not have
good disclaimer?
A pot shop? Have a pot shop on one side, and then the other side was just a bunch of couches with like Doritos and Cheetos and all these different snacks and everything else. I just feel like that's a gold mine waiting to happen, but nobody's tied them together.
Like a European, like anti-cafe almost, but it's connected to a dispensary, or like a bakery. I feel like people have done that, putting bakeries right next to dispensaries.
Yeah, those are called like magic brownies.
They can't operate under the same place because of licensing issues. Yeah. But
this is the problem with Eric. Eric is always the guy that is like, well, legally,
is it doable? Is it practical?
Yeah. And I have an unfortunate amount of knowledge in the marijuana and hemp industry suddenly after the last 3 years.
You'll like this place. In Oklahoma, right before I left, this venue opened up that was like an EDM venue, but it also had a medical marijuana like pot store in it, like in the back.
There you go.
They had a bar, so you could like come in, go buy your stuff, but then you could actually smoke it there while watching the show.
That's great. Look at that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and it was actually really nice because the outside was like almost like this little like park. They had like a little koi pond and like some tables and chairs, and like they had DJs come out during the week. I only went once, but it was pretty cool. I was like, this is nice.
That's pretty cool because you can get all anxious and everything from the EDM music and then smoke a bowl or something and just mellow out and relax. So
here's my pet peeve though. You can't say EDM music because that's electronic dance music. Just saying.
All right. There he is again with the technical side of everything.
Too many rabbit holes. This is my soapbox, and I want to keep sharing about the Doritos. Because they're not just any Doritos. They are the spicy, sweet chili Doritos, which
Isaac's favorite.
Is the most underrated flavor of Doritos.
Yep.
And I was reading articles and stuff about this new flavor after I saw the commercial, and people are just like, why wouldn't you just go with nacho cheese? Why wouldn't you go with Cool Ranch? I was like, because there's already so many nacho cheese flavored things, and you're already dipping whatever this is into Buffalo Wild Wings ranch anyways.
Well, I thought Taco Bell did that, didn't they?
Yeah, they already did that shtick. So they needed to be kind of new and different. And they've already got stuff like their Asian Zing wings and stuff like that. So I went and I got it and I tried it. And in addition to being crusted in the Doritos, they made a sauce that is supposed to be reminiscent of the spicy sweet chili Dorito. And as with every single time that I am reeled in by an ad for some new special limited time sauce, it just did not live up to it. Like I built it up. I was a victim of the marketing. I built it up. I got so excited. I thought those are the most underrated flavor of Doritos. I love them so much. And they just tasted like kind of sort of sweet, oniony soy sauce.
You know what that is?
What?
That's the marketing cupcake.
Marketing cupcake.
Yep. The icing, the advertising is great. The product and the follow through, dry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the frosting.
They got to match. They got to be consistent.
And so, but I thought it was so interesting.
There's an obsession with like getting like snack foods into the restaurant space recently. Yeah. You know, I've seen that more and more, whether it is the Doritos Locos Tacos, you know, or what Applebee's is doing with trying to create the like I said earlier, the Cheetos and things like that.
Yeah. Cheetos crusted mozzarella sticks.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like it's getting more and more like, since the pandemic happened, people just want to like hurt themselves more.
You know what the greatest thing about being gluten-free is? I don't have to mess with any of that stuff.
That's true. You can just avoid it wholesale.
But you were just talking about this earlier today, Brian. You still fall victim to this kind of stuff because you were just talking about how you were in Denver and you got super, super psyched about this brand new brewery that brews only gluten-free beer. And you instantly went and you started buying their products without even trying their beer. You instantly started buying their shirts and hats and stuff.
No, I bought their products because I did drink too much of their beer.
Okay, so it's a complete so that's a brilliant marketing model then.
Yeah. Well, but it's different. You know, it's know your market too. There's not a lot of gluten-free out there. And when restaurants say we have gluten-free options, they don't really have gluten-free options. A gluten-free option is prepared in a gluten-free dedicated space.
Yeah.
You know, throwing a gluten-free bun on top of the grill where you just toasted somebody else's gluten bun, that's called cross-contamination. Don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that part. So that's false advertising in itself. When you have a dedicated gluten-free space, those gluten-free people will go absolutely bonkers over it.
Because they know.
They know. It's a safe place for us.
Man, I don't think within the first 10 minutes of this show we've ever gone down so many rabbit holes and climbed on so many soapboxes.
I like it.
But I love it. It's good stuff.
Total chaos.
I was convinced you were going to say it was a buffalo pumpkin spice sauce. So.
Oh gosh, that'd be so bad.
That's where I thought we were going with this. So I'm actually okay with Doritos.
No, I mean, it wasn't the worst. And honestly, I'm still super pumped that I tried it because I would have always, but that's another marketing thing. I would have always wondered. And they say on every piece of marketing for it, even when you're putting it in your cart online for the online order, they say limited time only, right? So there's this sense of urgency that whether it's good or not, I need to try it and I need to try it now, or else I'm going to regret it. Like that sort of feeling. But I just wonder,
yeah, but what about the McDonald's McRib where every year is like the last tour and all that
final
stuff?
Tour last.
Yeah. And if we don't sell 5 million of these in the first 10 minutes, we're going to cancel it forever until the next 5 million are sold.
That's become almost its own satire. Like at this point, everybody knows when they see that marketing from McDonald's that it's just the McRib coming back for the season. But now McDonald's has it's like when you tell a joke so many times that it's not funny anymore, but then if you keep telling it, it loops back around and becomes funny again.
Yeah, never heard of that actually. It's weird.
But okay, so let's just assume hypothetically that people know what I'm talking about. It's the same thing. It's like people called McDonald's out on oh, well, obviously it's not like the farewell tour. And McDonald's is kind of yeah, we know, be cool, dude. It's just a marketing thing. Be chill, calm down.
It's always it's just, what is it? Pretend scarcity, drumming up actual scarcity just to create sales, which I mean, is one of the oldest tactics in the book and obviously still incredibly productive. I think of Taco Bell with how they're doing the similar thing with the nacho fries that they have. That's on a rotating basis that only comes around as often as probably the McRib does. And it is interesting, but I'm sure when they do announce those and do an actual sales push for them, it does kind of drive at least some level of increase in traffic for 2-3 months, you got the returning customers who have favorites that are scarce. So, you know, you're going to show up more often, but I don't know.
You got to refresh the offering. But that was my question. It's like Buffalo Wild Wings already has so much stuff. Like they're one new permanent menu item away from being Jack in the Box. That like, did they really need to do? Well, I always wonder what that conversation was like. I feel like it must have been initiated by Doritos. Like Doritos' big push is always like new, interesting, explosive, extreme. And so I feel like this was initiated by Doritos, not Buffalo Wild Wings. Brian, you were kind of shaking your head.
Well, I was just thinking to myself from an operation standpoint. I was asking myself, what is it that Buffalo Wild Wings sells? They sell, is it the wings or is it the beer experience and the beer? Like yes. you use the wings to get them in there to sell beer and watch the football games and because if you can get them in there for a few minutes of a game, then you've got them for an extended period of time. So
if you got them for one beer, you got them for 4 beers.
Yeah. Do they make more money off of beer sales or do they make more money off of wing sales? So they're not really selling the wings. What they're actually selling is the experience and the beer.
But
my brother's obsessed with that Bar Rescue show, and they always say that if you serve food at your bar, like I think the average customer will stay like 37 minutes longer or something like that, which means they're going to order more drinks. So that's why they always encourage serving some kind of food.
It's funny. My friend is obsessed with John Tafford too, and I know so many Bar Rescue facts out of the blue now.
I'm not surprised.
So here's the thing with Buffalo Wild Wings and their value proposition. Then what they're actually selling, they haven't really been able to sell for the past year and a half. So was this appealing to them? Did the pitch from Doritos, assuming that it was Doritos that kind of initiated this conversation, did it go, hey, you know how you can't do anything that actually gets you customers and makes you money? You should capitalize on the fact that people are just sitting on their couch and ordering out now. Boom, Doritos wings. Like I don't know necessarily how this new flavor of wings really loops into that larger money maker side of Buffalo Wild Wings, of people just going there to drink beer and watch football, because not a lot of people are doing that right now. Seems to me that it's a little bit of a pivot to the snack food arena because they know so many more people are ordering out. So in that sense, it makes a lot of sense, but it's still weird.
If you look at the parent companies of each, it gets kind of interesting to where Pepsi owns Doritos, and then Buffalo Wild Wings is owned by Arby's.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
That's I got bought by them a few years ago.
So it's kind of a fun thing to go deeper of like, what else is beneath the surface?
Well, that's why and I didn't know that Doritos was owned by Pepsi either, because every time you hear something new about Doritos, any new flavor of Doritos is always talked about as pairing perfectly with an ice cold Pepsi or something like that. Like it was in the press release for these freaking chicken wings that I looked up like just a few minutes ago before coming on here. It was something about like, man, Doritos, the perfect pairing for wings and an ice cold Pepsi. I was like, that was really random.
Kevin, you got the Doritos bag right there. Does it say PepsiCo on the back?
Probably. No, it says Frito-Lay.
Which not many people know that Frito-Lay is owned by Pepsi.
Yeah.
And then Pepsi's probably owned by Nestle, since like I think they actually technically own just everything.
Which is amazing. I mean, sodas and bags of chips. I mean, they go great together.
There you go.
I suppose I haven't drank a soda in like 10 years. But.
Yeah, the same group that owns Buffalo Wild Wings owns Arby's, Sonic, and now Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, Dunkin'. No, it's just Dunkin' now.
Yeah, Dunkin', you're right. Just
okay, wait a second.
Inspire brands.
How in the world did Baskin Robbins and Dunkin' come together? Like that combination doesn't make sense.
Are they owned by Aspire Brands too?
No, well, yes, because Baskin Robbins was bought by Dunkin'.
Oh, so Baskin Robbins was bought by Dunkin'. Dunkin's owned by Aspire Brands.
Then Dunkin' sold to Inspire Brands, which has those other Arby's, Sonic, and Buffalo Wild Wings with it. It's really interesting how that all operates. You know, we've worked with some clients who have franchises, and it's always interesting just to see how advertising changes in guidelines, you know, from the local level for like local franchisees all the way up to like what national tells you have to and what you can and can't do.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And having to like getting, I think that's something pretty unique that we as an agency get to experience, is getting to navigate that for like a variety of different franchises, like over probably the past 20 years, right? Like we've gotten to see all sorts of different franchise functionalities and kind of be able to get in and nerd out over the intricacies of what we can and can't do and how we need to integrate national and regional, or whether it's truly up to the franchise owner to run it all. It's very interesting. And it seems like no two are actually alike.
Mm-mm.
Well, guess we tapped that out.
Yeah. I was like, real, where do we go from there?
I don't know.
That
wasn't even anything. Like, I literally just had that for lunch, and I thought, this is going to be a news segment. I'm going to make it a thing. So there you go. There's Kevin's Craving Corner.
I feel like we need some type of like musical outro now.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the podcast version, the post-produced version. Oh my gosh.
We need Isaac playing like a drum fill at the end.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
Like, and now
if he would be on video, he would say no, because he doesn't want anybody to see him play.
That's right. We can just have it where you can just be like, here's Isaac, and then just tape.
Okay, so I got to tell you guys this. All right, just because you guys are music guys, and Kevin, you might check the videos that I sent you, Kevin, because I might have sent you this video. So I went to a Dave Matthews concert. Well, I went to 2 of them last weekend, but one of them I was sitting there, and we were kind of like right behind the pit. We're getting a little too old to get in the pit now, but we were in the seats right behind him, and I was watching. As you guys know, Isaac loves to play the drums, and one of his favorite drummers is Carter. So I was watching Carter this whole time, and they're in the middle of this jam. And
you did tell me this, yeah.
This song, and all of a sudden I see this guy, this roadie, walk out from the side over to the drums, and he starts unscrewing one of the cymbals. And Carter, in the middle of a song, does not even break beat or anything, puts the drumstick in his mouth, reaches up, pulls the cymbal up with his free hand, keeps drumming. You can't even tell he's missing a beat. The guy changes out the piece. He hands it back to him. They put it back in, screw it back in. He pulls the drumstick out of his mouth and continues to go through. It was the most phenomenal, craziest drumming session I've ever seen in my life. Sorry.
It's like when a guitarist breaks a string and they like retune it and keep playing as they're going through it. It's, as somebody I've worked in music and I love music, but I am so just not talented at music in any way, you know, like I just can't do it. It's so cool to me how people can do that, especially like, you know,
that's what happens when you play 200 shows a year.
Yeah.
Like you just are so like that has happened 50 times before, where you just know that you just have to make it happen, and there cannot be a break in the song. The show must go on.
Plus, a group like Dave that's so jam oriented, you know.
Oh yeah,
they know just improv. In tune. Yeah, and I guarantee you, it was probably something like Stefan kicked up the bass a little bit, slowed the tempo down. I don't know. I couldn't
needed a different cymbal or something. Yeah,
yeah, and it was insane because all the people around us, we were all at the same time. Because I immediately stopped recording after that was done, and I turned to Chelsea and I was like, "Oh my god." And the people around us were like, "Did you see that?" It was just phenomenal. It was crazy.
Take. Nothing was actually wrong. He just wanted to prove that he could, so that we were talking about it here right now.
Yes.
He just doesn't like every 15 shows. Yeah, every 15 shows, he's just like, let's pretend something went wrong so that I can show off that I can play with one hand and replace something.
Yep. He did it. And he achieved his goal, because here I am taking up 3 minutes of our break room talking about
branding. But I mean, that still fits, because it's like drums. as Eric said, oh, well, that makes total sense because a band like Dave that is so jam oriented would need to know that. So Dave's the brand that follows around Dave Matthews and his band basically made it okay for this drummer to do what he did. It was like crazy.
Absolutely.
Like it makes it completely on brand for him to have done that without missing a beat, and for us all to be so impressed about it, because they are such like a big time jam band, and we would expect nothing less than just like pure smooth groove in the face of adversity. And like, I don't know. Yeah, well, there's something there.
But you bring up a great point, and that is the brand of Dave Matthews is very widespread. And, we're marketing people. And so, Chelsea and I were sitting there at the concert, and the first night we set up in the grass, okay, way far back in the upper echelons of almost being outside of the venue. The next night we were like 5 rows away from the pit. Okay. So, but what we do is just like when I was talking about going to Las Vegas, my favorite thing at Las Vegas is people watching. And we do the same thing at Dave Matthews concerts. And that's the thing that Chelsea and I were talking about is we've recently been having this internal communication about personas and the extent of personas for the brands that we do work for. And I really started looking at it, and I started going, man, what would the persona of Dave Matthews Band be? Because that's a really hard one, because you've got literally within probably the maybe 10 people around us. And at the last concert, you had 2 70-year-old ladies that travel around and watch Dave. You had 2 young, I would say college age students sitting there singing every single word of it. You had a mom and a daughter next to us. Behind us, you had a old married couple who was telling us that they were there because their youngest son was having a college weekend at Colorado State. So they decided to make Parents Weekend a Dave concert as well. And then you had like a guy that was just a little bit further down that literally looked like he left the Grateful Dead concert and came over to this one. I mean, he had the long gray beard, the long hair that came down past the shoulders, the tie-dye t-shirt.
There's a few things that do all connect to them, though. And if I had to guess, one of them's probably open-toed shoes.
Open-toed shoe. There was a lot of open-toed Birkenstock. It is actually the presenting sponsor for Dave Matthews.
So you just market to Birkenstock's buyers.
Yeah.
So, but it really made you start going, wait a second, like what is the persona? If we had to break that down, what would be the persona of the Dave Matthews Band?
Listener? Yeah, I found it similar with like the state fair. I don't know, but like I don't really love going to the state fair that much, but when I do, like the best part of me is people watching, because like literally everyone will go from like all different class, race, everything. Like every demographic is showing up from the state fair, and I just find it pretty fascinating to just sit there and see like why does everyone love this thing so much? Like, no matter who you are,
what are you talking? Are you talking about the Texas State Fair?
Well, I've been to Texas and Oklahoma's, but
yeah,
the last few I went to were the Oklahoma one, and it was like packed.
It's the fried butter sticks.
Yeah,
fried butter, fried.
There's
Dr.
some
Pepper.
things that all state fairs have, and fried food is
fried
definitely
Oreos.
But I think that's interesting that there are states, and I think as you move further south, this maybe becomes more true, that it truly is a melting pot. The state fair is kind of truly a melting pot. I can't tell you the last time I went to the New Mexico State Fair, and I'm not sure I could tell you somebody that I know went to it this year. Like it's interesting. There's a different kind of culture in New Mexico. There's events like the Balloon Fiesta that I've been to 15 times in my 30 years of life, and that to me feels like what you described about like the state fair in like Texas or Oklahoma, but it's kind of its own thing based on where you are. And I feel like the South really owns their state fairs.
I think so.
Because I feel like if you went to something like the Arizona State Fair, the Colorado State Fair, the Oregon State Fair, like it probably would not have the same mystique and appeal and broad visitorship and appeal that something like the Oklahoma or Texas State Fair would. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact. It just feels to me, and maybe that's because I'm just thinking of the places and the people that are in those places and what we hear and see on diners, drive-ins, and dives, you know, about the state fair in Texas and the fried butter sticks and, you know, best.
I think
news.
There's a lot more like state pride in southern states typically. You know, it's like I think about where growing up in like Pennsylvania, like outside of the Eagles, you know, that it was like I didn't really care about like PA pride, baby, you know, like we had our couple of things, but it was much more of like a region, you know. It was like I grew up an hour away from, you know, Maryland, 30 minutes away from New Jersey, you know, 20 minutes away from Delaware. It's just like it's not, there's never really like state pride to go somewhere to go see like a PA state fair, you know, as well as much as, oh, you know, go to Philly or just some other major city or something like that. And I feel like with more individual kind of state pride and then having population centers that are more spaced out in these kind of rural states, is you have a fair where everybody can kind of come down and join from, you know?
So I think you kind of hit it right on the head there. In the East Coast, you know, when my dad worked in Maryland, I went back there several times, and it was and still is amazing to me how close those big cities are to each other.
Yeah.
And so really you're more of that East Coast area is more of the New England area. Like you just kind of lump them all into this area.
New England pride. Yeah. You don't have.
You know, you look in Texas.
Don't let Boston people hear you calling New York, New England.
But you look at Texas and you have a few big cities, but you have more geographical area that's so spaced out that you really kind of try to latch on to any of that prideful area that you can. But it's, you know, and people just don't understand how big Texas is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of Chelsea's childhood friends from Colorado called her one day when we were still living in Lubbock, called her and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Dallas for a conference. Do you want to get together for lunch?" And Chelsea's like, "That's a 6-hour drive just to get there." You know, people, well, it's not that far on the map. No, it is.
No, it is.
But
yeah.
It's those spaced out areas. It's like, you know, everybody takes pride in the well, not everybody. A lot of people take pride in the Dallas Cowboys because it's about the only thing Texas has in that area. You know, New England area has, you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens. There's a lot of different ares for you to identify
Buffalo,
with.
Patriots.
Yeah.
It keeps going and going. We have no shortage of teams up there.
That's funny. You said the Patriots, and I was like, no, they moved to Tampa.
Pretty much they're talented.
Oh my gosh.
It is very interesting to kind of see how that changes and shifts. And you know, NFL fandoms are another, you know, now that we're on that subject, is truly a fascinating thing to see, especially in the Northeast. When you look at the brand of the Philadelphia Eagles, will take up all of New Jersey and just about like portions of the southeastern corner of the state, whereas the Steelers take up like a huge area that you wouldn't expect them to in Pennsylvania. And it's like it has to be really unique, even just down to like a local merchandising level of how like you coordinate what brands you want to be carrying, you know, what teams in your regions are doing the pool.
So that's to my point exactly on the Dave Matthews and the persona kind of conversation is, you know, ultimately you could look at it and say the NFL is probably one of the top brands in the world, right?
Oh yeah.
As far as value and everything else. But the diversity of NFL fans, geographical, demographical, however you want to look at it, is so vast and so wide. I mean, all the way from grandmothers down to, you know, young kids, you know, you're appealing to the same people. And in that vein, what we do as marketers is as much sociology as it is kind of persona driven. And I know the personas is the new magic bullet for marketing and everything else, but I still think it's about taking the science of how to talk to people and how to relate to people as a brand versus most of my customers are this. It's still, advertising is still just a version of talking to people and trying to find a way to relate with them. And you can't relate to everybody with one thing. You have to talk to them differently every single time, depending upon what that platform is. Sorry, didn't want to go too deep, but
I'm happy you bring that up because it's something I've been thinking about a good amount recently too. I've been working on a lot of copywriting and specifically website driven copy. And it's a fascinating, science, if you really want to get down into it, of how do you communicate what can be relatively complex ideas to a handful of relatively diverse audiences in a way that you don't patronize them and you don't infantilize them, but you also are able to carry, what could be a complex message to, your grandparents who are not in the know with anything that has to do with like modern day technology versus those digital natives that were raised in the space. And, the language that we use and making it feel natural and is such a unique and interesting thing that I think a lot of people don't consider. It's how do you take your message and make it widespread appeal when, you can develop 2 or 3 personas, you can develop 100 personas, but at the end of the day, it's like,
you still got to know how to talk to those personas.
Reaching across the boundaries that you're setting up is probably the most important part.
Yeah, you talked about basically one of the very first break rooms we had, Eric, you were talking about the digital persona, this digital avatar that's created of people as they search and as they make decisions and as they have experiences. And as privacy becomes a bigger and bigger concern, more and more companies are, clamping down on the amount that they share, the amount that is gathered about you. And so those personas, those little digital avatars become a little less clear. And what you're going to have is, we talked about the successful marketers being the ones that aren't just relying on the clarity of what this person looks like and plugging it into a system to target them with an algorithm. The ones that are going to succeed are the ones that know who these people actually are and know how to speak to them, not just because of their digital footprint, but because they understand who their customer is at kind of the core level, and they know how to communicate with that customer, not just target them.
Yeah. It really comes back to, Kevin, what are the 2 reasons that advertising fails?
Oh, let me see if I can remember this. I've only heard it about 750 times. Either you put the right message in the wrong spot or the wrong message in the right spot. Or
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You nailed it. Good job. You may have heard it once or twice.
Yeah.
But that's to the point though. I mean, it's about the message and it's about not only the message, you need to know who you're talking to in order to put it in the right phrase for them, right? Like, I'm not going to, and one step backwards, our job as marketers is to inspire people to take action. All right. So I'm not going to inspire Eric to buy a pair of shoes, the same pair of shoes that I would try to inspire Kevin to do it, or vice versa. Or another way, I wouldn't inspire Trace to buy a certain charcuterie board and Chelsea to buy a certain charcuterie board, right? Like you guys are looking for 2 different things on a charcuterie board.
Want to buy charcuterie boards,
right? Insane. So, a lot of times companies try to lump too many people into one message. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you need to do 15 different messages all for these 1 or 2 platforms or anything like that. But what I am saying is you need to take a moment and look at them as people and not as customers or clients or anything else. Look at them as people. People are not industry specific. right? Like, so it doesn't matter if it's the plumbing industry or the restaurant industry or the clothing industry or the automobile industry. You're still talking to people. And so how do you inspire people to take action, and then you play on emotions, engagement, loyalty, those types of things. But that's where I think a lot of marketers miss the boat, is they stop talking to people and they start talking to clients or customers. They refer to them as, I got you more. And we even take it a step further. We do it sometimes too. And I have to break myself of this habit. We start talking about people in the forms of clicks or form fill outs, conversions, those types of things. Leads. They are people. And when we lose sight of who we're talking to, you lose sight of what you're trying to inspire them to do. Okay, again, I'm sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, that was great. I think you're right. Yeah. That speaks to the whole, people need to stop viewing their target audience, their target customers as online avatars, or really just any sort of cookie cutter potential hypothetical person. Like, start figuring out who they actually are and talk to them that way.
Yeah. And if anybody would like to know more about that train of thought, look for Inspire Me. Don't just advertise to your customers. Inspire Them by Brian Link. Book coming soon.
Is this yes, this is the inspired marketing book. No, I was excited. I looked at sneak peek for all our listeners. I read the first outline of it, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. So well, what else happened this week? What else can we talk about that is break room worthy in the world of advertising?
What's bugging me right now?
What's bugging you right now
in the world of advertising? And we've talked about it before. I think we talked about it either on here or Life of the Brand, another podcast by Griffin Link Advertising.
We just doing everything. We're doing it all.
Yeah. Well, and the analytics are driving me insane right now.
Yeah.
Because
which we talked about either on, I don't remember if we talked about it on Life of the Brand or here, but we did talk about a while ago about the changing of analytics. Yeah,
we talked about it on here.
Yeah.
And I had a lengthy conversation with our digital marketing strategist this morning about it, because I took our analytic report and I was getting ready to reach out to one of our clients, and I noticed a sharp decline month after month after month in display. In display and the impression side of it. And some of the other analytics kind of had this decline. And so I called her and I was like, hey, can you explain this to me? And she's like, I don't know what else you want me to say, because I've explained it to you guys numerous times and you call me every month with asking me the same question. I was like, well, then articulate what you're trying to get across to me. But it's this whole Apple non-tracking thing is really causing some freaking issues. And it's making me mad, not only as an advertiser, because think about it this way. As advertisers, we're doing a service to the consumer, right? Because we can track you, because we know what you're looking at, what your habits are and everything else, we can put advertising that is relative to you in front of there. I'm getting advertising for things that make zero sense for me. Like, I kind of look at it and go, do you even know who I am? No, you don't. But it's one of those things that people keep clicking the do not track, do not allow tracking or anything else. And it creates issues. And we had the conversation about there's clients that all they care about is the amount of impressions that they're getting, even though you should be looking at click-through rate and different,
the new time on site analytic. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's all these different metrics that really indicate success, but clients cannot get past the impressions, and they see these bar graphs going downwards. And we can sit there until we're blue in the face and say, well, Apple doesn't allow tracking anymore, and Google's heading in that direction too, but they don't care. They see is, this downward trend, even though you have an upward trend in phone calls, conversions, your business is having one of the best years that it's had in decades. they sit there and they go, oh, well, why am I putting money into this if it's just going down? And you know what? If anybody from Apple is listening to this right now, just stop messing with everything. Give us our
tracking back.
Give us the tracking back and let us provide advertising to people that makes sense for them. Yeah. Okay, now I'm done. No more soapboxes.
The problem is,
I'm going to actually pull up my Uber app because I'm about to have to leave.
I think the reason why Apple was doing that, though, is because there are other companies. There's a lot who are actually abusing that tracking.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem is, you have so much abuse around it that, like, for the small and medium-sized ad agencies, for the agencies that are truly trying to help businesses focus in more effectively on who they should be speaking to, that you have hundreds of other entities for every one kind of, I guess, like good apple or good seed. You've got like 100 bad seeds that are using it and taking advantage of this, again, this digital footprint, this digital picture that we have of people. And so that's so hard because there is so much good that can come of it. It started out that way, right? It started out like, hey, here's a way, like, you know how convenient the internet is. We figured out a way to put the stuff that you would be shopping for, when you went to a department store, right there in front of you, just a click away. And we've figured out this algorithm to know that is your interest. And so it all of course starts very intentionally. And like I'd like to think it at least began from the true heart of trying to make the internet a place where people could be and shop and have community and like all that stuff. But it's just so hard because it gets taken advantage of so much.
In my opinion, there's 3 people to blame for where we are right now. Okay. Facebook.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Okay.
Freelancers.
Freelancers as one person.
Google got out of there somehow.
Google dodged it.
I was like, I was on the tip of my seat there. I was like
Google, no, freelance, the corporate freelancer. Yeah.
Well, and I know we have a couple freelancers in our midst, but not all freelancers follow best practices.
For sure.
And it creates issues. They take shortcuts. They do whatever they can to, handle the few clients that they have and that they're living and everything else. Nothing wrong with being a freelancer. Just do it right.
Yeah.
It's pretty
make
easy.
messes that we get brought
brought in to sweep up and fix. Yeah.
Right. But I'm all about the freelancing. It's just a matter of freelancers don't take into consideration big picture or other aspects of situations. They're just focused on their one piece that they're doing. And that doesn't make it right or wrong, but it does put the customer in a situation in which they could misinterpret information or be led in a direction that is not always in their best interest, but is in the freelancer's best interest. And there's a lot of agencies out there that do the same thing. It's not, I'm trying to backtrack now so I don't get hate mail from freelancers.
It's okay. I don't think anybody's watching, so it's all good.
Okay. But that's one of the issues that I think caused a problem is a lot of abuse came from just the sheer amount of freelancers that have come into play in the last 2 years, which is COVID. Everybody was able to become a self-sustaining freelancer while at home, and it has really caused a shift in the way a lot of things are done and accomplished in this particular industry.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And
then Facebook is just evil.
Facebook,
I would go so far to also say a major issue is our current education system and how we prepare students who want to have a career in marketing and advertising as well.
Eric and I have jumped on that soapbox before. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we can go down a whole diatribe
with that. That's a whole different.
This is going to sound bad, but you know what one of my favorite things to do is I go and talk to a lot of universities and classes and stuff like that. I love going into their class and being like, y'all don't know jack. Okay.
Yeah.
You know nothing. You are not prepared. Don't act like you are. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And the teachers are just like, oh, we vouch for this guy, so we have to smile and nod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of the teachers or most of the professors are ones that I've talked to their class several times.
Yeah.
And so they know what I'm going to come in and say. And I don't do it in like a hateful way. I come in with hey, let's get these expectations under control.
You can't think that you know everything just having taken the coursework. Especially in the fields of advertising, it's not like some of these other professions where you really do have to prove your practical proficiency in order to move forward. Like there, especially in the advertising. At a few particular advertising colleges that Eric and I and Trace have some experience in, the advertising side particularly, it's also theoretical because it is kind of difficult to throw students, to figure out how to get students that practical knowledge. But it's also not like there's a lot that can be done partnering up with internships and real true intentional pushes to have the students step beyond the classroom and into the agency world, or heck, even into the freelance world a little bit. If you're not learning it in class, like, learn it yourself. So, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, I just talked about how that's not a good thing.
No, I know, but the going the freelancer route the right way, or at least learning, like, never mind. That
should be the next Griffin Wink book, How to Freelance the Right Way.
The right way. And at the end, it's like, and always remember, Griffin Wink is your friend. always maintain a close relationship with the author of this book.
You should always maintain if you're a freelancer, always maintain a close relationship with an agency or some type of entity like that, because that way, when you don't make it as a freelancer, you have somewhere to fall.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, for it, in all seriousness, like, that is an important part of freelancing, right? Is knowing what you don't know, and knowing that as a freelancer, you fill a very specific niche, so that you need to maintain relationships with others in that space, because you are now one part of an entire conversation. You're one part of a marketing department that encompasses so many other things. And that's a topic for even another break room, because I pretty much think that we're out of time. But anyway, a lot of good conversations, a lot of good conversation starters that I think we should revisit. But
do you think we got a couple good clips out of there that we're going to be able to use?
Little good tidbits.
Yeah. I timestamped a few things. So.
Oh, good. Like the Buffalo Wild Wings.
I don't remember what we said. Yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings.
If I hear a clip come out of here that's me going, freelancers are what's wrong with the industry, I'm not going to be happy.
Oh, man. But hey, with that, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Brian, Eric, Trace. If there is anyone listening right now, thanks for sticking around to all of our nonsense. But we will see everybody next Wednesday, 2 p.m., Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Hear the slightly more polished version anytime you want, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And we'll see everybody real soon.